All right. Hello, everyone. We are live August 26th.
Yay! We're so excited. There's so much going on right now. The energies are wild. Lauren and
Oh
I
my
keep doing
God.
this thing. Like it's literally every time we'll be so enthralled in conversation and we're like, oh, we have to hit the live button. Like we need to be getting this captured.
Every time. And we recorded yesterday as well. So that will be next week because we won't be live next week.
Mhm.
We'll be traveling. Marston is
Yeah,
on the
I'm going.
journey.
I'm on the go always. You guys, it's been insane too. These travel adventures, I was in Ireland and my hotel ended up getting changed the same day. And they were like, "Oh, sorry for the last minute notice, but we have to move you to a different location." And as it turned out, it was actually a college dorm that I was being moved to. So it was like student housing. My bed, I swear, was made for a leprechaun, a Dublin leprechaun, because it was like the blanket on my bed, the comforter, and
Yeah.
there was no top sheet, so it was just the comforter. It went down. It started at my ankles. So if I'm laying flat in the bed, my feet are dangling off the bed. The comforter goes to my ankles and it goes up to my belly button.
Wait, what?
Like in what world? And I was gaslighting myself. I was like, what is wrong with me? How have I not figured out this comforter? What's going on here? But it was truly just the comforter that came in that dormitory. And I was like, I had one of those moments like, how did I get here?
Well, I feel like you're literally living the actual travel life where, like, on social media, you see Instagram vloggers, you're like, oh, it's so amazing. But then you see the back end when you talk to them, and they're like, sometimes it's a living hell on the
Yeah.
road just because of shit like that that you literally can't control. So the highs are highs and the lows are lows.
I mean, it's truly that is exactly what's happening. And I even got to my Madrid Airbnb and found out that what the host considered air conditioning was actually just a fan. And it's like in the upper 90s here. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. So I've been moving around a lot, and then I leave and I'm on vacation next week in a different country. So I'm really looking forward. I was just talking to Lauren about this, like with the astrological transits going on as well. I'm really looking forward to feeling a little bit more groundedness and stability when I come back from vacation. So I can be in
Mhm.
one spot just for a few months, which I never
Absolutely.
thought I would say. But here we are.
I mean, you're such a heavy Sagittarius person, and it specifically it rules your fourth house. So you moving and
Yeah.
grooving and traveling can take it. For like my husband and I, we're Cancer moons. Like we want our home, we want roots. And it
Yeah.
just, I couldn't even imagine, even though that was my dream. And I was like, one day, but I don't know if I could be a nomad like you because you've been going for
Yeah.
months.
I've been going for months. I mean, this started when I left my career. I want to say it was last November. And I've really been on
Holy
the move.
moly.
Yeah, because that's when I drove to the Pacific Northwest, obviously not even knowing that you existed yet, but I was over there with you.
Well,
And
so we talked and you're like, yeah, I was in this like little town called Duval. And I'm like, literally, my coach lived in Duval. Like, I grew up having sleepovers in Duval. Like, it's crazy.
I'm like, yeah, you'd probably never know it. It was just this little town, and you're like, oh, I know this person, this person, this person. It was totally like, I mean, just one of those, once again, synchronistic moments where I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is all happening how it's supposed to. But yeah, so I was there for just a couple months, and then I hit the road and went to Asia for about a month, then came back to the States for a few things, drove cross country back to Kansas City to see family and kind of get reoriented before then leaving for Europe at the end of May, beginning of June. So yeah,
Mm.
it's been a journey for sure. And I've loved every moment of it, but also I have gotten to know like all the parts of myself that I didn't really necessarily care to get to know and that I've been forced to not only get to know but to fall in love with and learn
Yeah.
how to love myself in different ways. I was just talking to my therapist about this and how like
Mm.
it's like the union within myself, right? Of like learning how to love myself, learning how to love my shadows, how to integrate all of this and really just come into union with myself, the most important relationship I'll ever have. And nothing will test you like not having a physical home. I mean, just and I don't mean that in like like a homeless way. I know there are people who don't have this luxury of being able to travel nomadically, but it is an interesting dichotomy of feeling all this freedom and expansion and at the same time kind of struggling to feel grounded and to feel
Mhm.
structured.
Yeah, that's so real. I mean, you hear
Yeah.
I've never done solo travel abroad, but you hear a lot of people talk about like that's the best way to get to know yourself and to
Yeah.
experience things because it's just you too. And I think in my life, I really want to do like a pilgrimage somewhere for that, where I
Yeah.
do it with a group because I think that'd be really fun, but then do my own week just so I don't have to make decisions or consider anyone else because my whole life I feel like I've always been like, "Oh, whatever you need or whatever, what do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Wait, what would it be
Mhm.
like where it's just me and I get to decide everything?"
Yes, totally. And that is the beauty of this. Like I feel like every time I've hopped into, I mean there's so much beauty in this, but every time I've hopped into an Uber wherever I've been or a taxi, they always ask like how is it traveling alone? Like I actually
Mhm.
it's interesting talking about synchronicity and like lately how, and we can talk more about this with timeline convergence, but like how everything, I feel like more and more people have been experiencing synchronicities in their lives, like
Mhm.
one after the other. And I was just in Scotland and I was Ubering to the airport, and my driver happened to share with me that his wife had recently passed away.
Mhm.
And I find that this happens to me a lot. Like I will be placed in someone's life who recently lost a loved one.
Mhm.
Um, and it was interesting because I was able to share a little bit more about what I'm doing, and that I'm actually a medium and I lost my partner too. And like it was just interesting being able to like have this conversation with a stranger. But he was asking, he's like, I'm thinking we used to always take this trip together, and now that she's gone, I feel like I should still take the trip, but I'm just a little, I don't know, I'm scared of being alone. Like it's gonna feel weird doing this on my own. And this was a grown man, and so it's just like I do think there's something about traveling alone. It's there's something so beautiful about doing it with a friend or a partner or a group or whatever, but there's something really sacred and magical about doing it with yourself and getting to know yourself on such a different level.
Such a different level. Have you ever done
Yeah.
a silent retreat?
Um, no, I haven't. I was in Bali last March where, and it was a retreat, but we were there for a Nyepi, which is
What's that?
their biggest religious holiday there. It's super
Um,
sacred for the entire island, and it's like a day of complete silence. So there's like they cut off the Wi-Fi, power, electricity, like no flights come in, no flights leave. Perfect night to look up at the stars. Oh my God. Um, but yeah, and no one talks. It's just a day of prayer, of reflection. So I was there for that. So it was just 24 hours of silence, but I haven't done it like an actual silent retreat.
yeah, I really want to experience one. I want to start with the 3 day and then there's this 9 day one. And I don't know if it goes around the world, but I know it's in America and it's donation based. And I've had a few clients do it and it just sounds hard, but also you really see parts of yourself you had no idea about. And that's like on my bucket list too. It
Wow.
would be so interesting. 9 days of just nothing. And you only get
Yeah.
one meal and then like an apple or something at night because you're literally purging everything and not
Hmm.
having your
Yeah.
brain and everything. I'm like, that's so cool.
I think there is something to be said about that. I mean, I think too, like plant medicine retreats kind of have like a similar vibe to that, of like a lot of purging, a specific diet, but also like self-reflection. Also the pilgrimage you mentioned, what comes to mind is oh my God, I'm blanking on the name, but you know it. It's through Europe, and it's like through Portugal. Why am I blanking on it?
Yeah, my mom did it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We
she went
think
through
we've talked
Portugal.
about this. Um, the Oh my God, it's right on the tip of my tongue. It's so frustrating. Hang on, now I feel like I have to look this up.
Yeah, look up. Because this is where my mom I got the idea when I was little. My mom would go on these trips and specifically this pilgrimage, and she saw where like the
The
Mary statue.
Santiago, the Camino. Yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, it's just so cool. Like now, as a kid, I was like, okay, mom, like so cool. But now I'm like,
yep,
wait, I actually want to do that. That's awesome. And we were raised very Catholic. Like I was in that very
yeah,
conservative home. Um, and thank God my parents have deconstructed Catholicism. They're still very much in the church because it's their way of connecting,
Mhm.
but they very much understand that like man has altered the Bible and things. But anyways, she always did spells growing up because she would pray to Saint Anthony anytime that we lost something. She would always put, I can't remember what saint it was, Saint Francis, Saint Joseph
Mhm.
statue upside down in the dirt before we sold our home, and it like always. And she would have these
Wow.
stories of there's another novena where you would say, it's a sign, like, give me purple roses if I should do this or yellow roses. And every time without fail, it worked. And you have 10 days and every day you do the novena. And so it's just so funny as an adult now. I'm like, Mom, you're a witch. And she's
I
like,
was just gonna say, what a powerful witch. Like, seriously, though.
I know. And I just saw a TikTok was like, can we talk about deconstructed Catholics always still talk about Mary, Saint Anthony were things that are lost, and I can't remember the last saint. And I was like, it's so true. Those are the exact people my mom works with still. And it's just powerful. So cool.
I think that's incredible. I like, and yeah, and of course now this version of yourself can say like, okay, I fully appreciate what you went through, what you embarked upon, and what you were doing from a
Mhm.
completely different angle and lens now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was funny. I mean, I remember it was a third grade. I had my first friend who was in the queer community.
Mhm.
And my parents like, well, because I was a cheerleader. And they're like, well, the church. And I was like, what? And it was from that moment on that it was slowly me just challenging my parents' belief. Well, why can't you get a divorce? Well, because the church says,
Yeah.
but why? But why? Why can't you be gay? But why? And now in high school, they're like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I was like, thank God. Like, and they listened, but I know not a
Yeah.
lot of people are as lucky with that. But
I
yeah.
mean, that's so cool that they were and are open to shifting belief systems. I think that's the thing that like you and I have talked about this, and this is like something I feel so strongly about that has been so pivotal for me and my spiritual and healing journey is being able to be self-reflective and really say like, oh, what am I attached to? Like what are the beliefs that I'm attached to, so much so that when someone else presents something new for me, it activates me. Like that's information,
Mhm.
right? For like what I am attached to. And I think that's like what's been so powerful for me is being able to say, okay, this was my belief system up until this point, but now I have more information that's come into my awareness. And with new information comes a completely new awareness, but also ability to have a different perspective. And,
Mhm.
and that means like as we continue to evolve and grow, so too do our belief systems. And I think like if when we get too attached to something that we've been told for so long or something that we thought we knew to be true, and it served us for that time, just because it that's what served us and created our reality doesn't mean that that's what's going to serve us in creating the reality that we're consciously building for ourselves moving forward. So I love that your parents were are so open in that way.
Yeah, and that's a really good segue. But first, I'm just going to touch on I looked at their astrology, and
What?
I know my dad is actually was the one who was raised Catholic. My mom converted because she just fell in love with the faith and being
Hmm.
connected to something bigger. She was always drawn to the
Totally.
church when she was younger. She would like go at 12 by herself because her parents were like, no. So she's always been innately connected to spirit. But my dad is a Scorpio rising with Neptune directly on his ascendant, which just basically means like extreme psychic abilities. And I was like, Dad,
Wow.
you're fucking psychic. And he's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And I'm like, dude, look at your chart. And I showed him all the things. And he's like, yeah, well, I mean, I always kind of like, he always felt energy, but he shut it off so young because it was so intense for him that now it's like all mental and he has like severe anxiety and stuff. But,
Yeah.
anyways, I was like, oh my God, no wonder because he's the one who got my mom to go to church. He's the one. And if you met my dad, you would think he's definitely
Uh-huh.
neurospicy. Um, but it's just like funny because I'm like, holy shit, like to see your chart, to see what's inside of you and like how connected you really are. It was so special. And I feel like he's now researching more about astrology and like asking me about it. And it's just so fun because I'm like, wow, you were so rigid, so patriarchal, very much like I make the money and my mom did like talk about traditional home,
Oh,
but it
totally.
is really cool to see him grow even at 65. Like he's even still growing and I just love that, and I feel like we're so much closer because of that too.
Oh my God, totally. The bending the rigidity, like making it more malleable because that's what we are. We're supposed to be malleable. We're expanding souls and our
Yeah.
molecular structure is always changing. It is malleable. And I just love that so much. It's also funny because it reminds me like when I first started becoming aware of my own psychic and mediumship abilities, I started sharing with certain friends about this. And like, I feel I could tell that it was almost giving them permission in a way to explore their own. Like I can't even tell you, I had several friends that were like, I've always thought that maybe I was a little more connected and that I did have, I've always wondered if maybe I have something there. And it's funny because these same friends never would have talked about it otherwise. But it's
Yeah.
like almost like it provides this opening, this allowance of like, maybe I could explore this more. Like maybe this is something that's okay to talk about. Right.
Yeah.
It's like bridging that gap.
And it's an invitation and to explore our innate gifts that we all freaking
Yes.
have.
We
We all have them.
all have. I had a client the other day tell me, we do ongoing consulting work um and she made a comment that was like, I don't have the ability, bless you.
Nice.
Like I don't have the abilities that you have. And I was like, I'm going to stop you right there before you even finish your sentence because that is a sentence, that is a belief system that we need to work on reframing, nullifying and reframing because you have every single ability that I have.
Mm.
You just can't quite accept that or see that within yourself right now. And there's like all this different patterning exploration that we're doing with her. But it's like I just cannot emphasize enough. And I had someone on my live the other day had commented being like, I think you and I talked about this, but had commented being like, psychic abilities are that's spiritual psychosis. Psychic abilities don't exist. And I just remember thinking like, it's so sad that we would think so small of ourselves to have such limiting beliefs around what we're truly capable of. And to say that the only things that exist are within our 5 physical senses and that's it. That's where it ends. And people can believe that. You're welcome. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but like how limiting that must be.
Yeah. And we talked about this on yesterday's episode that will drop next week of just like the grief that people never open up that. And I think this is a good segue into what we wanted to talk about around timelines and just the reality of Earth shifting.
I know. I'm so excited. Yesterday I literally said to Lauren, I was like, I'm ready to talk about timelines again. She's like, you always talk about timelines. It's literally one of my favorite quantum concepts though. And I'm going through final edits in my book. I'm sending my manuscript to my publisher this week, and I'm just going through everything. And I'm like looking at how I talk about timelines and where we're going as a species on this planet. And what keeps coming to me is this download about, and it's interesting, Lauren, because before this episode, I asked my guides to give me a message, like to encapsulate what we're talking about in this episode.
Yeah.
They had me go out to my window to look outside. Now I go down, there's construction outside my window that has been going on since I arrived here. It is pretty loud, and that's okay because I have air conditioning, so I'm good. But but there's this statue that is like enveloped and encased, like there's a fence around it. And so all this construction is going on around it. The ground is like they're drilling in the ground. It's a mess. It's like a bomb went off there. But the statue remains untouched. And I just kept hearing, be the statue, be the statue. And so what was coming through with regard to timelines is like all of this information is being presented to us, all this information on varying frequencies. It's like we're just suddenly open to all these new radio stations or all these new channels that we didn't know existed before. So we're receiving this influx of all these contradicting pieces of information too. And so it's just all over the place in the quantum field. That our energy is so scattered, it's almost like it's a distraction. We don't know how to consciously align to the timeline that we want to align to, right? Okay. So we're going off of what we're receiving, and we're once again unconsciously hitting subscribe. And so before we know it, we're creating a new reality for ourselves without being conscious of the reality that we're creating, because we're not mindful of what we're consuming and what we're receiving and absorbing. And so the message that kept coming through was be the statue, in terms of like you can see everything that's going on around you. You can look at all the chaos ensuing, and you don't, and I'm getting chills as I say this, you don't have to absorb all of that vortex as your own. And it's kind of like what you and I talked about. I got into my mom's vortex the other day, and like I noticed I was reacting and not responding. And then I spent 3 days like kind of sucked in this energy, and I had to bring myself back. And this is kind of what my guides were showing, was like, we don't have to get sucked into the vortex of other people. We can still be aware and have compassion and empathy and acceptance, and we need to be able to stand tall. We need to be the oak tree. We need to be that, yeah, the like the oak tree in the storm. I don't know, like that's kind of just what's coming to me right now. Like we need to be able to stand firm in our truth and in our resolve and our resiliency and our sovereignty, and be able to say, I am a conscious creator here. I am in charge and responsible for creating my own timeline consciously, and recognizing that you're meant to be that lighthouse. Like you don't know, someone else might see your glimmer of light from the distance, and that's all they need, like to redirect themselves back home, right? It's like the Wizard of Oz tornado. Everything's in black and white. We're all getting sucked into it. And then we get blown out into a world of technicolor. And that's the highest time, that's that higher timeline that we're in the process of anchoring right now onto the planet. But it's easy to get lost. It's easy to get sucked into the tornado and see everything around us as all this chaos. And that just leaves us up here scrambling for answers. And we're not really fully embodied or integrated. And so that's and I'll pause here, but like, that's just the message that kept coming through, was like, when we talk about all the timelines that are happening right now and unfolding and revealing themselves and all the confusion and chaos, how can we find stillness in the storm and remember that we are the conscious creators of our reality?
That's beautiful. I mean, and real with
Yeah.
the chaos, and they know. I'm wondering if you want to expand on, just if this is the first time someone came across you talking about timelines, just like around probability and all of that around the timelines. Because I feel like one thing that was really hard for me to grasp in the beginning when I heard about like timeline work was how are all these timelines simultaneously happening at the same time, but when they're technically not. It's the probability of what's going to unfold, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a great question. So let me think about how I want to explain this. Okay, so we're existing in the present moment, and I'm going to kind of take this. There's going to be a few things that I like, a few angles I take this in, but it's all going to interweave. So we're in one expanded moment, one expanded present moment that's infinitely expansive, just like our souls. And that means, so from a quantum level, time is not linear the way that we perceive it to be and move through it in this physical reality, right? Time actually moves through us. We're actually never going anywhere. But our reality is constantly being constructed as we continue evolving our thoughts and our belief systems and taking aligned action along the way. So our external reality, we should view as a lag. I'll use my finance background, like a lagging indicator, right? It's the result of something that's already happened, or a sentiment that we've investor sentiment in the market. This is how, like, our external reality that we see around us is the result of our previous belief systems and thoughts and actions we've taken that have aligned us to the timeline or the informational frequency that we're experiencing physically through the projection of our own consciousness. It's like our consciousness is projecting, like on a projector movie screen in our basement. We're having a movie night. It's like our whole life is one movie night, because it's just this movie. It's our life playing out in front of us, right, on this screen. So when you look at the world around you right now, your reality, and you say, okay, I don't like what's happening here. I don't like this, and I want to change it. You need to recognize that it is not a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of the frequencies that you've been emitting and the actualized probabilities, or the probabilities that you've been actualizing in the quantum field up until this point. And when I say probabilities that you've actualized, what I mean is every single moment that we experience, because it's one expanded present moment, but it looks differently. We perceive it differently, one after the other, as we continue taking these steps. Every moment we experience is a node or a nexus point in the quantum field. And so Therefore, each node or nexus point is an opportunity for us to make a different decision, to choose to do something differently, to not keep hitting subscribe to the timeline that we've been on, the same routine day in and day out. It's an opportunity to do something differently. And so that means, so the way that I'm going to pull this back for a minute, every reality that exists, a parallel realities, right? They all exist as probabilities in the quantum field, not possibilities. Because everything in this universe is technically possible. Even saying nothing is impossible is not true, because that implies that there is something being nothing that is impossible, right? So if we think of everything as possible, then it's really just a matter of how possible is it for us to experience, which turns it into a numerical probability. So something that seems impossible to experience is really just a belief that says, I don't think that this is possible for me to experience, which is really just aligning you to a timeline where experiencing that thing is 0.0000001%, for example. It doesn't make it actually impossible. It just removes it from your reality. It just distances you from it. So when I talk about timeline, like aligning to timelines consciously, then we can say, okay, here's the information being presented to me in my external reality, which means if you look at it as a projection of your own consciousness, then you can realize that everything in your reality is really just a mirror reflecting back your own information that you're projecting out in a different form that you can recognize outside of yourself. And so information comes in the form of people, of opportunities, of events, circumstances, happenings, serendipitous moments, coincidences, whatever you want to call them. And it's just information for you to see the what you're operating at, what your belief systems are. And so if you see something, for example, this is the example I use in my book too, but like if you really want a relationship, like a happy partnership, and you see in your reality, you see people like exhibiting PDA. And this is like a personal example from my own life, like years and years and years ago, when all I wanted was a relationship. And I would see people like displaying PDA and I would be like, ugh, I hate PDA. And I would just completely reject it. And really deep down, what I was not looking at was the subconscious belief that I actually really wanted that. And I didn't really feel like I deserved that. And so I was actually emitting the frequency of, I don't want this for myself. So it's being presented to me as a probability. And it's saying, the unified field, the universe is saying, do you want more of this? Do you want to experience this? And I didn't realize that what I was actually answering was no, thank you. And I was pushing it further away. And so when I talk about actualized probabilities and like how nothing is really set in stone, it's really everything that we experience is like the momentum of said actualized probabilities that we've taken. So this happens on an individual scale. When I talk about like, we don't actually change our world. We don't change the world. We change our perception of our world that we're experiencing. And therefore, we change our vibration, which sends out a ripple effect, informing the unified field or the quantum field. And the billions of incorporated energies that are on this planet, the billions of souls, plus the trillions of unincorporated energies that are always receiving our pings at all times, past, present, and future. And so collectively, what happens is everyone subconsciously or unconsciously receives this new vibration that you're emitting, whether they're conscious of it or not. You're actually helping to inform them of a higher frequency that exists for them. And then their external reality will start presenting that in different ways for them. And it's up to them whether they, choose to actualize those probabilities that would align them to higher timelines or higher frequency information, for example. And you can see how this would then ripple out, across the unified field, across the collective unconscious, and this is really how we actually do change the world. It really, when people say it just takes one person, they're exactly right, because this is an internal process. You have to do it yourself first. And once you can change your world, your perspective, your perception, other people can do the same. You give them permission to do the same. And then that's how the actual world that we collectively agree to experience changes. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of times people will be like, well, my partner's not spiritual enough, or my partner's not going to therapy, my partner did that. And I'd be like, all you can do is focus on you. And by osmosis, literally by your energy shifting, they are going to be in that frequency. And I see it time and time again. Maybe they are not exactly on that same path, but their partner does shift and does get curious. And if they reject it, then they reject it and they break up, whatever. Then it wasn't meant to be. But I
Yeah.
do see a lot like your loved one, your family members, goes back to us talking about psychic abilities with family members. Like
Yeah.
it really does. As you open up, just energetically, I would just tell my clients it's healing through osmosis. Like they just heal through you by you healing.
It's true. Yeah, it's
It's
so
so
true.
cool.
And I think that's like, speaking of timelines, right? Like there are people who experience completely different versions of this planet. Like it's possible for all of us to be existing on different timelines where we experience different versions of Earth. And like I think this is a big thing in like the new age spirituality community, is asking about, the shift to the new Earth, to 5D. And
Mhm.
it's like less of an actual physical shift, although there will be more of that down the road as well. But it's really about like what timeline are you choosing to exist in? Like like it's really about what density of consciousness you're operating in, because it's like the rings on the tree. There's like the third density consciousness, which a lot of the world is operating on right now, and they're only going to experience what's available for them to perceive in this realm of consciousness. And then if we expand out in the fourth density and fifth density, then like that expands our realm of possibility of what we can experience and the information that we can interact with. But people operating in third density consciousness they won't be able to see that as clearly. And so they are like, for it's hard to like visualize this, but they are existing in a different world, really.
Yeah.
um you know
And we can take what you're talking about with the chaos and not getting sucked into the tornado here, because they understand how this works. They, as in
hmm
whoever runs the world behind the curtains, right? So they know the more chaos that they just put on our algorithm, they put in the news, they literally do, the more that it's going to reinforce your belief systems that I have no power, the world's
hmm
going to shit, da 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 da. And it keeps you either looping in hopelessness, or if you're on the other side of the coin and you're like, yeah, get them, whatever, you know what I mean? That's very
yeah,
like that 3D polarization. And they know that. And that's why if you keep letting that algorithm sweep you up and anxiety, it's reinforcing the timeline you're currently witnessing.
100%. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like it's how do we come back to our own agency and sovereignty and consciously creating our reality? Like this is not being done. It doesn't have to be done for us. But unfortunately, that's how we've operated for the majority of our lives, because everything was taught to us the way that it was, for us to allow life to happen to us. And like this is just the way things are. So we have to keep them this way, which is like what
Mhm.
Lauren and I were talking about this a little before we went live. It's like just because something has been normalized and that's just the way things are, does not mean that that's how it should be. And does not mean that we need to keep following this script. Like we have the power to rewrite the script here.
Mhm.
But of course it takes that in and of itself is a belief system. Do you actually believe we have the power to rewrite the script? So like, and this
Yeah.
is, and just because like, you're operating in fourth density consciousness, someone else is in third density consciousness, you could be in the same coffee shop, and if a plate drops, you're both going to perceive that plate as breaking. Like you're still operating in this physical reality together. But your perception of everything, the thoughts that you have, the belief systems you have, what you feel is possible is just different.
Yeah. I made some notes.
Perfect.
Because there's like
You're
different
like, I
ways
have notes. Yeah.
okay, so from some things you said. So one, I find it interesting, and this is a really big topic that I feel like we've talked about before on here, but I still just want to highlight it around the term, and this is where language is important. We create our own realities, and it's not in a narcissistic, new agey, even control religion. We create a reality because we do co-create. We do have free will taken from us. And again, we talked about this yesterday.
hmm
That there are times that we will be abused or something will happen to us, and it's not that you had a negative belief about yourself that day, and so you created that abuse to happen to you, because that's
Right.
also
Right.
someone else's
hmm
infringing on your free will. And I know I just wanted to say that because that is a hot topic right now around the new age
Oh my gosh.
rhetoric and how they're
Yes.
using it to weaponize
Hmm.
us around, well, you created it, right? You're creating this physical manifestation of whatever, when
Yes.
that's not what you're saying at
Yes.
all. It's saying the beliefs that you hold is going to impact your energy of how you experience these events,
That's
right?
exactly it. Yes. I'm so glad you brought that up too, because we cannot control what happens to us or how someone treats us or what someone does. Like this is so not about like, you're not a victim because you had this trauma thing happen to you. It's about, okay, you couldn't control what happened to you. And it happened, right? We can't change the actual event that took place, but we can change how we respond to it. We can change how we allowed it or allow it to inform us moving forward and what we want to do with this new information. Like, where do we take it from here? And I think that's the thing with like the higher level soul agreements of like, oh, well, this, your soul agreed to this. Like you agreed to this before you came in. And I think that's what we talk about with like the new age spirituality, like rhetoric. And it can be a little bit dangerous because it's like, then that kind of releases all, how do I want to say this? Like it releases agency and free
Mhm.
will. And it says like, well, you agreed to this happening. So you have to roll over and take it.
Yeah. It reminds me of Pluto. Like Pluto's coming up to me right now because Pluto in astrology is really around, yeah, the shadow of it is the trauma we are going to experience in this lifetime, because unfortunately you're not going to get through Earth unscathed, because that's the
Right.
reality of Earth. So
Mm-hmm.
we knew in the sense that Earth is hard, right? You hear it from so many people who channel, is
Mm-hmm.
just like Earth is fucking hard. Um Obviously, because we're all fucking living here, seeing it.
Yep.
But anyways,
Yep. I'm like,
Pluto
oh yeah.
Pluto is around experiencing it and then using it as innately your inner power. Because when you
Yeah.
experience and you survive the darkest of days, it does become your most powerful self. And it's just that range. Like the lower you go, the higher you go, right? The shadow and
Mm.
the light. And you can. And people who've gone through, I see charts all the time that are freaking hard. They just are. They are hard.
Yeah.
By definition, a lot of squares, a lot of planets in detriment, just a lot of karma. And they come to me just so upset. Like, why is my life like this? And I'm like, well, you know what? That it was hard, but guess what? You now have so much power and so much wisdom and so much knowledge because you are sitting here learning about yourself. And that is validating for them, but also just really empowering, because if you have survived that, because you did, because you're sitting here in this session, you now get to use this as your strength. And that's really what Pluto represents. And it's so real, instead of getting stuck in the loop of that lower frequency, which they want you to. And
Mm.
that you do by literally seeing it on a collective level, because it just reinforces, because everything's a mirror.
I love that. Yeah, everything's a mirror. And I think that's where we come back to, the importance of directing people back to themselves in the work that you and I do, and that so many people do. It's like if you're not being directed back to yourself and whoever it is you're listening to, right? Or like whatever person, channel, leadership figure you're listening to, it's like where's the empowerment here? Like as long like that we're mirrors for each other, right? Like you don't
Mhm,
need someone outside of yourself, but you're also not meant to do this alone at
mhm,
all. And it's nice to know like when someone can use their astrology, for example, or human design or whatever the case may be.
whatever.
It's a permission slip. It's like, okay, this is a way for me to better understand myself and to use it as a tool for empowerment, not as a
Mhm,
crutch or an excuse, but like, okay,
mhm,
this makes sense. And like, I feel validated and confirmed here because whether or not we actually like get to a point where we don't need external validation, it always feels nice to feel understood and to feel like you are on the right track. And it's just, especially when there's so much chaos and confusion and you're going through grief, heartache, you're feeling the pain of others and you're not understanding why you're absorbing their energy, because we were never taught that we are all energetic beings and we're all informing each other all the time. We were never taught this about ourselves and our
mhm.
bodies. And like this is, so we need tools for empowerment at this time, and we need people who we can turn to help shine a light on that. Not say I
Mhm.
have all the answers for you, but let me help you find your way back home. I love, and so I think that that's like what really comes to mind with all of this.
Yeah. And just a comment when you were talking about timelines around how shifting every day you have an opportunity, every moment of every day you have an opportunity to change the trajectory, change your routine, change whatever. It really got me
Yeah.
thinking about the South Node being in Virgo right now, because Virgo, the archetype is literally our daily routines. Like, what do you
Yeah.
do every day? And when the South Node is in the sign, we're letting things go of that. And with the eclipses coming, it's a new beginning. Like we have a solar eclipse in Virgo. It's a new beginning to start a new routine. It's a new beginning to start a new um way of being. And I think that's a really exciting time for all of us with what you're talking about timelines is like we have this energy right now. We're entering into eclipse season. The energy of the sky is saying like purify, like start
Mm-hmm.
over, do something new. You can.
Yeah.
You're not locked in to what you have to do. You are not locked into the degree you got. You get to change. And I feel like right now is that moment that we all get to do whatever the fuck we want to do. We can.
Yes. I was just thinking of this and I'm like, I love your ability to like weave together all of this information because it's all interconnected and you're so gifted at that.
Thank
And I'm thinking like with Virgo and like the new routines and everything and how we can like, we can take our agency and our sovereignty back. Like we're not reduced to what our charts tell us. We're not reduced to what the system tells us or what the news tells us. It's, okay, this is an opportunity for us to decide where we want to go. Like if this ship isn't going the direction we want it to go, how are we going to steer this thing? You know, and recognizing that we're all in charge of, all we have to do is steer our own ship in the direction that we want it to go. And remember that a rising tide lifts all ships. And I think that's like the more that we continue to have conscious conversations like this. I was recently looking at my Instagram, which has like no posts yet, but I'm thinking like I want to start posting on there. And my bio is it's like catalytic consciousness conversations. And I'm like, that is, and I love alliteration. I'm such a sucker for that. But like these are just the catalysts that we need. These are the conversations that need to be had in order to remind us that we are the ones steering the ship. Even though we haven't been told that. We've been told that the people that are in charge are the ones steering the ship, but they just don't want us to find out that we're actually the ones who can do it.
And they're terrified because we're finding out. And that's why they're censoring the shit and made TikTok illegal and sold it to an American company. Like they're doing it left, right, and center. Okay, there's two other topics that are going to take us down a completely different rabbit hole that following up from timelines. So I'll wait for a sec. I do want to ask because I feel like you know about this. And maybe it's just because as an American, you're literally programmed that it's like the best fucking country since the day you were born. You know what I mean? Like being raised in America, the propaganda is wild. We are so egocentric living here. And also, there is a level that America does set a tone for the world because of how we are egocentric and abusive and narcissistic as a collective, right? So more the leaders. Anyways, why do you think America is such a strong force of what goes on here is really rippled? Because there's countries who, I guess my thought here is there's tribes who don't even have technology who are thriving. There's countries, other Western countries in Europe who are completely opposite and have no crime and are so happy. It's like obviously the propaganda, but like why is it because of the depiction? And if you're listening, being like, what the fuck? Like the Nile and like how it's kind of a replication of Egypt in Memphis and all of that. Yeah. Okay. Explain it. Cause I know it up here. I can't articulate it.
I know. Well, and it's like the more that I learn, the more I know. The more I learn, the more I know. And also the more I realize how much there is I don't know. Like it's like you open this and it's like, oh my God, it just keeps going. Like it's just, you could keep going down the rabbit hole. And so what you're saying with like the draw to Kemet or ancient Egypt is like with Memphis, Tennessee, kind of being like the capital of like Memphis, where Memphis and Egypt was, or where it would have been with the Nile, like and the Mississippi River, like being the like parallel to this ancient civilization where all of this was really started with sound frequency healing and constructing the pyramids, and which were really these energy centers that they were portals. They are portals. And there's so much with the pyramids too that we're like, just scientists are just now figuring out, and everything below them, and like, oh my God. So it's, and as I'm saying this, I'm like, Marston, focus.
I know.
So, but like with America, it's like this was built on stolen land, like, and this was built to be like, the hub of the new god, so to speak. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No,
Okay.
that's, I'm like, oh, okay.
I remember like Elon made a comment being like in an interview, and he was like, well, maybe Memphis is where our new god comes from. Like, he wasn't just saying that. This was all
It's
carefully
just a clarifying
constructed.
question.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'm letting my dog out because he's crying and it's gonna distract me.
Okay.
Clarifying question. Because I don't want people to think I think America is like the best country, obviously. But like, you're saying that it was constructed through the propaganda, having the collective subscribe that live here, which is a lot of people, right? It's like a melting pot, that they've been grooming us to believe that like the next god, like this is the
That's
dream.
exactly what I'm saying. Mm-hmm.
The American dream, and come here and when it's a complete illusion.
Yes. I mean, and it even ties into the capitalism, the patriarchal capitalistic society that they've constructed, being like, retirement is heaven, money is God. Like, it's all, tied together, and you have to like suffer and work to get there. And with the Christian, what we're seeing too with like the Christian nationalist movement and the ties to Israel, and what's happening like with the genocide in Palestine, like it's all tied together to make sense for the controlled narrative, and the control narrative relies on people remaining unconscious or remaining asleep or not questioning everything that they've been told and all the propaganda they've been fed. And it's so easy. I remember seeing this firsthand, like in my own family, and like some of the things my parents would say, and they are very open people for the most part. But like their generation, like so many, they just were kind of brainwashed by like the mainstream media, that the narratives that were pumped out. So they have very specific opinions based on this. And so, with America, like being like the quote unquote the best, like the land of the free, it's like, okay, what I come home to is, and I write about this in my book too, like using this example, but if you're born into a prison and you're told that this is like the best place ever, and like you have a cell, and how lucky you are to have a cell, you get to decorate it however you want to, and like this is the land you can go play on, and this is like recess, don't go outside the fence because it's dangerous out there, right? It's like I come back to the M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Village, or The Villagers, and I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but it reminds me a lot of what we deal with in America, which is like, and just Western society in general. Don't go into the woods, don't leave the village, because there's monsters out there, and the monsters will kill you. And at the end of the movie, like, just spoiler alert here, I mean, it's an old movie, but someone does make it out, and they see that there's a whole world out there with like, I think they even, I might be getting two movies mixed up, but I think they see like cars, or they just learn that there's more outside of their village than they were told, and that the monsters in the woods were actually like the village leaders that were like actually killing people to scare them into staying inside the village. And so my guides have actually equated like what we have been dealing with in America, where we've just been like forced into this workforce and into this like controlled like 9 to 5 routine. There's nothing beyond our 5 physical senses. Like, this is the way things are. They equate us to being animals on a farm. And staying within the confines, being fed certain foods that will keep us plump, that like are not good for us. And I mean, it's like truly just across the board how we unfortunately treat animals here. Like and we've seen this play out with, obviously I'm a white woman talking about this, but like with slavery too, like that, how these people were treated as animals, like, and not a good, like, we should not even be treating our animals this poorly at all, or anything on our planet, anyone. And so it's interesting because like we grow up being taught all this about America and how great it is, and how we became like this independent, liberated country. And Christopher Columbus like got his own day to celebrate, and like Thanksgiving is like, I mean, it's just, I could go on and on.
No, 100%. And I'm like, and I don't know why this came up to me. And it's so funny. I was thinking about this while you were speaking, and then you brought up Christopher Columbus. Like, we obviously stole the land from the indigenous folk who have the most connection to spirit, right? Like their whole
Yes.
culture was based in being connected to the land, being connected to the ancient wisdom, being taught by nature to guide us, being taught by the gods and spirits and stuff. And it just makes me wonder the story we've been told, and maybe you actually know about this or someone listening knows about this, but oh, we just fell across, he came across this land. And it's like, what did they know about this land? Like, I really feel like they knew something about, I don't know, energy or something that they're like, we're going to go colonize because we're going to take it back because if this got out or something, like
Yeah.
Rome would fall. I don't even fucking know timelines. I don't know anything about history, but I just felt like, oh no, they knew what they're doing by coming here because the indigenous are the rememberers. They are the ones who teach us what we really do know about spirituality.
Yes.
It's not a
That's
formed
exactly
thought,
it.
but yeah.
No, that's exactly it. I mean, and it's anything to keep us distanced from our true selves and from our true power. And like, it's interesting, like to think of like everyone in America, no one's actually from America. Like it's not its own culture. Right. And so like, no wonder people
Unless you're
feel so,
indigenous,
well, yeah, exactly.
right?
I mean, and yeah,
Okay.
like,
I was like,
yeah,
wait.
no, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. But like Americans, right? Like there is no such thing as like,
Yeah.
actually being American, because it's not, I mean, and I get this, right? Intellectually, yes, I'm American, I'm from America, but like not really. Like our ancestor, it's not the land that we belong to. It's not American. It's, and anyway, like there's so many ways to say this. But it's like we're lacking such a culture. We're lacking, like you go to other countries and you're like, you can appreciate the culture and the food. And I mean, in America, like I think there's rarely have I seen an indigenous like restaurant, an indigenous
No.
like a way to celebrate the Native Americans, truly Native Americans.
Yeah,
Because they're few and far between.
unless you go to a tribe. And
Yeah.
they've broken every treaty. They've continuously continue to kill and murder Native women off
Yep.
these lands as they are destroying them, drilling for gas
Mm-hmm.
or oil. And people aren't like looking for them because it's on the reservation. And I remember in my social work program, because I live in the Northwest, which is a lot of the Native, a lot of Native tribes around here. Just, it actually makes me want to tear up. Like just how many women and children are being abused because of alcoholism, and because not just women and children. I know there are probably men also being abused out there, but still the statistics are showing a lot of domestic violence, and police are not allowed to support them because they're on their reservation. So these laws that then they can't get support, but then at the same time, like police and other people are like killing them, right? Like it's so sad. They are literally stranded. There's no protection.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just disgusting. And anyways, the point of, it's interesting, I even talked about that America, and even talking about this, it all comes back around. I feel like, I don't know, like it's just really interesting, and how capitalism, globalization, they've infiltrated so many countries around the world to push this. Like in India, they've globalized it. And I've talked to clients that I've had who were raised in India and came here for college, and they are working on a working visa now. And they're like, Lauren, you don't understand. In 2012, globalization hit India. You didn't have McDonald's until about 2012. It is so different. And it's really destroyed the culture at its heart. And it's like, they're just trying to like get their freaking claws in everywhere. And it's so sad. And I think this is why right now it's such an important time for us to preserve these ancient wisdoms. I don't know what, I'm on a rant now.
No, it is, because I mean, this is like the lost ancient wisdom, right? Like this is the trying to, when we're seeing it happen right now with the current administration, like they're trying to erase history.
Literally
they're
books.
literally trying,
like
Yes, they're trying to rewrite this, right? Because they know that's actually, it works. That's how this happens.
I
A
mean,
lack of knowledge.
we were raised Columbus, he's a
Yes,
great guy.
exactly. Yeah.
Pocahontas was helping them. No, she was a slave to them.
Yes, and that's indoctrination. And like and this is why it's so important to become conscious of this and to like actually talk about it, because the way, if we keep talking about it, it can't die. Right? And so, and
Mm,
I think about like what you're saying is spot on with what has happened to indigenous people, to the Native Americans. Like it's their story, and think about all the female figures throughout time who have just been erased. Their stories have been erased. They're trying to disable and disarm that timeline that exists, so that if we focus, if we collectively focus our awareness and attention on one specific narrative, on whatever we keep giving our energy and focus to, it's going to keep playing out.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so like this is how we radically challenge that, is by choosing to say like, what about this over here? What if it's okay, yes, this, but what if we focus on this? What if we talk more about this and get more people to open their eyes and their ears and their arms to like, just there's a lot going on here. We have all been tricked. We've all been manipulated. We can admit that,
Mhm.
right? And I think like the sooner we do, the sooner we're able to like actually allow this new information into our awareness and orbit in a way that we can actually not only accept it but integrate it and embody it, so it becomes wisdom. It becomes embodied wisdom, not just knowledge or information. It's like, okay, this
Mhm.
is actually through my experience now.
Mhm. Totally. And it's like not only are they doing that with history books, they've done it with the Bible, they've done it with every single thing that would to your point, connect us to our sovereignty and remind us who we truly are at our heart. They are actively rewriting, banning, distorting. And this is why there's a huge push to pull kids out of the public school system. And
Mm-hmm.
they don't want their children brainwashed. Like I literally remember playing Pocahontas in 3rd grade. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? Right? And it was such a different narrative. Looking back now, I'm like, wow, my teachers were so blind.
They
So
didn't
blind. I
know.
know they didn't
Yeah.
even think about this once, about what they
Mm-hmm.
were doing. But then it's the other hand, it's like, I don't want my child being taught, especially a child of color, around
Mm-hmm.
white history. That's not true. That's going to
Exactly.
disempower her. But
Yeah.
then I also don't want her not to have community, because community is important too. So it's such an interesting
It's
conflict
hard.
I'm having. She's only 9 months old. I got time, and I know the school system is going to crash with Uranus and Gemini and yada yada yada. And I'm already like putting feelers out for like a teacher in the neighborhood. Like I'm like, someone's going to come to us, but
Mm-hmm. Yes.
um
Oh, definitely. Yes.
yeah, it's such a hard time right now of like preserving the actual history and the wisdom with also just the world we live in. And oh man, wow, didn't think we were going there today, but we went there.
I know. And I have one more thing to say
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
about the school system stuff,
Yeah.
because I know people's argument is, but they need socialization. Like, okay, I can get behind homeschooling or whatever, right? But they need socialization. And it's like, yes, of course they do. But why, ask ourselves, why is it that this is the only way we know that that's possible? Is through the indoctrination system. Like, it
Mm,
doesn't have to be this way.
mhm,
Tribes know this. Like, it's community. It's everyone coming
mhm.
together and helping each other. It's multiple people in the community helping to raise this
The
one child,
children.
right?
Yes.
Helping to educate them, helping to heal them. It's the community coming together. And this is why we've never been taught. This is so natural to us. This is the way it's supposed to be. Abundance is supposed to be our birthright. We're not meant to be going to school for 8 hours a day, just being
Mm.
infiltrated and programmed left and right. And that's the only way we get our socialization too, which by the way is also limited.
So limited. And I don't want my kindergartner, at least in Washington State, they get laptops. No, she's not going to sit on a laptop
Yeah,
for 8
yeah.
hours a day starting in kindergarten. That
I
is
think that's also
disgusting.
part I think that's also part of this other timeline that's unfolding with AI and just like becoming so codependent
Mm.
on this, like honestly it's like part of like the transhumanism,
Mhm.
agenda taking place here, is becoming more synthetic, more AI.
And no
So
critical
I mean,
thinking or
yeah,
education.
no
Yeah.
credit. Well, and that's the thing. There's like no independent thought. When everyone's taught to believe a certain narrative and believe a certain way, then you're not critically thinking. And that comes back to what we talked about with being malleable in our belief systems and being willing to say like, okay, this resonated with me before, but I'm this version of myself now with this new information. And I've integrated this and now I've shifted my belief system. Like if we can't do that, then we're controllable.
Mm-hmm. And it just makes me think about, sometimes I think about my belief systems, just me, very egocentric. But then it's like, wait, what was my family's? And then what was my
Mm-hmm.
ancestors? And especially
Yeah.
being white, knowing what our ancestors did and knowing epigenetics, knowing it's in our DNA, it is important to understand, kind of looping back to how you're like, America doesn't have a culture. Yeah, like we're so disconnected from our ancestral wisdom, even. I mean, like you were in Ireland. Did you go back to your homeland, right? No?
Yeah.
Yes? No?
Well, not really. Like I'm from like Limerick and Cork areas in Ireland, and I went to Dublin just briefly, but I did go last year on a retreat to like several of those areas, like the ancient Celtic shamanic
Yeah.
roots, which was really really cool.
Yeah, and I'm like curious if like we were all reconnected, acknowledged the distorted beliefs our ancestors have held, and then our
Yeah.
parents have held, and then we now hold, and then reform it instead of just the here and now, because our bodies hold everything, right? From ever. And so I don't know, that
Yeah,
just was coming up to me
exactly.
too, of
It's the
ancestral work.
subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, like to know that
Mm-hmm.
it's not just our consciousness inhabiting this body. Our body is plasma. It's a vehicle. It's a container, and it's the house. It houses our subconscious. It houses like all memories and all programs and all patterns of data because it's all stored in our DNA.
Yeah.
Even if we're not conscious of it in this lifetime, it's still a part of us. We still carry the codes from other lifetimes.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that's really deep work right there of like looking beyond yourself here and now, being like, well, of course I accept everyone. And of course I did. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, and like what's in your
Mhm.
body? What's literally
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
subconscious?
And doing it free from judgment too, of like this is okay,
Mhm.
let's observe this, let's be aware of it, you
Okay,
know.
so fascinating. My ear is ringing so loud. And earlier today, I wanted to ask you on the podcast, what do I do when my ear rings? And it just started, and I was like, forgot about the question. I was like, oh, whatever. And now it's like ringing so loud. And I'm like, and it's been happening in certain client sessions where I'm like, hold on, like I have to like ring it the fuck out because it's so loud.
Okay, I love that you just asked that. Clearly your guide's being like, oh, don't forget to ask. Because okay, I several of the clients I work with in like private psychic and mediumship mentorship actually have
Mhm.
been experiencing this as well lately. And it's interesting because my first presenting sign, if you will, of clairaudience, like when these abilities first started making themselves known,
Um,
was the ear ringing. And I remember thinking, like, is this James, my deceased partner? And like trying to get my attention, is this something? And I learned to work with the ear ringing. Now I know what it means for me. And it's, you get to assign it meaning, right? Like this isn't me like telling you what it means necessarily, but it is interesting how this is happening to multiple people right now. It's like our guides are all making us aware, like, hey, this is something to pay attention to. You're adjusting, first of all, to higher frequencies. This is like very much a cellular, um, I don't want to call it like an upgrade necessarily, but like it is that too. It's like the cellular molecular evolution. It's the recalibration. I think a lot of us are going through these recalibrations of sorts before we kind of enter this new paradigm. And your body's also like, so you're adjusting to these higher frequencies. You're adjusting to like your consciousness is expanding, right? So you're experiencing higher frequencies. And this is kind of your body's way of like, kind of bringing into balance, like, right, we go up here and then we come back, we go up here and then we come back. And the ear ringing can be a part of that. It can also be simultaneously a nudge, like a sign, a nudge, a communication from your guides, your higher consciousness, your team and spirit, just letting you know that there's something to be aware of or something to pay attention to, either when it happens or after, like shortly after it happens. Like I remember once, like when this first started happening, I was doing a Forbes event in my investment management career. I was partnering with Forbes for like a best in state wealth advisor event. And I remember we had a portfolio manager presenting, and like to the audience, and my ears started ringing like so loudly, and I like couldn't help but look in the direction that like my ear, it was over here, and I was like, I feel like I have to look over here. And about 8 seconds later, a client in the audience right where I was looking raised his hand, and I just knew to like ask a question, and I just knew that I needed to pay attention to that and tuck it away. And then later on in the night at the cocktail reception, that client actually came up to me to start a conversation. I didn't know him very well, but it ended up being that like as we're talking, this is like when mediumship was very new to me, I started perceiving the presence of like a male in his early 20s, which was wild because I was the only one there under 40. So I was like, this is so weird, like where is this person? And as this client and I started talking more, I really got the sense that I needed to ask him if he had ever experienced like a profound death that made him think about life after death, which was so weird because I never would have like asked a question like that, especially in a setting like
Yeah.
this with such a conservative like man in his 60s, right?
Yeah.
But he had asked me how I was doing, and this was coming off the heels of my partner's death, so I had been on leave at work, and so it was kind of a perfect opening. And I asked him this, and he said, I haven't really talked to anyone about this, but like my little brother died about 25 years ago. And he was 23 at the time and was driving up the Pacific Coast Highway and drove into a telephone pole, and died. And I never got closure. And I really haven't been able to talk about it with anyone up until you right now. And he started crying, and there was like all this repressed emotion. And the reason I bring this up is because like, that was me also listening to my intuition and the signs that I was like the higher guidance I was receiving with the ear ringing. That to me signified this is something to trust and to pay attention to.
It's so cool. Oh my gosh, your mediumship is
So
amazing.
I mean, it's like opened up such a world for me. It's been absolutely incredible, like in so many ways. But I think this is for you. It's like this is also presenting itself as information for you to lean into and start to trust, and like just be open to more things like this happening and opening up within you as well. And we can of course talk more about it too. But it feels like
it always happens like when I'm reading a chart and I'm like, well, I'm seeing this, and like it's like "Ding," and I'm like, okay, like my ears ringing. You really should pay attention to what I just said. Like it's always during like a point where it's like this is
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Trust that. Like it's here to help you. They're here to help you. And they want you to like lean more into these senses, right? This is like the expansion of consciousness into fourth and fifth densities outside of third, is like being responsive and receptive to the phenomena available now on these higher frequencies. Like now you're in a different sort of communication with your higher consciousness.
So
which is so cool.
So cool. Well, I think this is a perfect time for us to plug our offerings. So you go first.
Yes,
Speaking
I
of
agree.
mentorship.
I know, right? So my offerings have really changed a lot since I started making offerings, which was not too long. It was just a few months ago that I started doing this like publicly, which is wild to think like how much can transpire in this quantum leap. And so I am now offering, and I'm sending out my first membership newsletter tomorrow. So I'm starting to offer a community membership for people to come together, talk about things like this. I'll do live channeling. So for general Q&A, as well as some personal Q&A as well. This will include discounts I'm planning to host virtual workshops coming up to help people learn how to channel, to learn about telepathy and how to use it, psychic and mediumship abilities, wealth consciousness. There's a ton of things, but my individual sessions I do like one-on-one sessions, which I call one-on-one consultations for any area of your life you're looking to really break through to the next level. This can also be wealth consciousness. I access the Akashic records and channel my guides, as well as work with your guides to really get whatever information is most relevant for you at this point in your journey. And then I also do psychic channeling and mediumship calls as well, and channeled written guidance. And then I do like for people who want to work with me more than just one session, I do ongoing coaching and consulting, as well as the psychic and or mediumship mentorship, which is just private one-on-one. So awesome. And my website's thebridgingcatalyst.com.
Perfect. I offer astrology courses. So It's so funny because I'm changing in January. I'm expanding the Lunar Child into more of like an institute with astrology and other healing modalities. We'll start with EFT tapping in January. We're going on to breath work in the summer. And so really my goal for the Lunar Child is not only their certification track for astrology, you also are learning other healing modalities so you can start your own service, your own healing practices. And that's how I really use astrology. That is my core use of it. It is an archetypal messaging for us to grow and to heal. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And so it's really, I'm finally realizing my past is creating my future and I'm blending these
Always.
two worlds. And so, of course, I do timing and prediction readings. I do natal chart readings. I do astrology coaching as well, one-on-one. But what's very near and dear to my heart right now is my courses. And so I will be launching my level 1 cohort at the end of eclipse season, and level 2 starts in January. So level 1 is like the fundamentals of astrology. So, yes, signs, houses, all that, but also aspects and dignity and rulership, how to really get into the crux of what your chart is telling you. And then we move on to transits in January. And so I'm so excited for that one. So yeah, in January, I'm expanding a lot. So if you want to learn astrology, get in at the end of September so you are prepped and ready for level 2 and 3 in 2026.
So exciting. Oh my God. I can't wait to like keep talking to you I mean, obviously every week, but in the months to come too, of like how much has changed and transpired. Cause like we are moving and grooving. This is so exciting.
We're expanding our businesses so much. And it's funny because I have worked one-on-one with clients for so long, right? Because I've been a therapist forever. And as much as I like love those sessions, they light me up in the sense of just getting to see the magic. It is so fun to teach because it's like I get 10 people learning their own chart. So I get it 10 times in one thing. And it's just so freaking fun. So my website's lunarchild.com. It has not launched. It will launch pre-sale next week. So if you want a free 30-minute reading, I'm doing a little promo for that. But yeah, that's what I'm teaching now, to spread astrology far and wide.
I love it. I love it so much. And I get so excited thinking about the things that we'll continue to do together in
Yes, the retreats
collaborations.
are gonna come,
Yes.
and yes,
Yeah.
workshops. Like we have so much. I feel like we're
Mhm.
laying like our foundations of our businesses, and then
Totally.
they're gonna be like,
Mhm.
like in and out, and we're gonna do
It's going to be
codes for
awesome.
discount codes if you book with me, and if you work with Marston. Like we are working
Yep.
behind the scenes. Things are coming.
We are. It's super exciting. And oh my gosh, so much more to say too, but we'll refrain. We'll wait for the next conversation. But this has been so amazing. I'm so excited. And every conversation with you, Lauren, truly, it's like, I don't even know when to stop because we can just go for days.
I know we put time limits on ourselves. We're like, okay.
Yeah. And I actually do. I am going on a different podcast at the half hour. So I actually do have to put a limit on this one too.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. As always, like, subscribe, share, send it to anyone who might need this conversation, and comment any questions or topics you want to talk about below.
Thank you guys. Can't wait for next time.
Bye.